The Supreme Court of the United States rejected an appeal by 5 Uyghurs held at the Guantanamo Bay prison facility to be resettled in the U.S. The 5 Chinese Muslims were imprisoned along with 17 others in 2002, but were later dismissed of all charges and are currently waiting at Guantanamo Bay for their release.
The position of the 5 Uyghurs is certainly a sympathetic one. They are part of an ethnic minority in China that has been persecuted. They left China and went to Afghanistan not because they had any great animosity towards the United States, but rather because their animosity was towards China.
Richard Samp of the Washington Legal Foundation claims the men were properly arrested and imprisoned.
In fact, they trained with the Taliban, and that the Taliban are enemies of the United States, and under the rules of international law, we are entitled to hold people who are affiliated with enemies of the United States until such time as we determine they no longer pose a threat.
But J. Wells Dixon of the Center for Constitutional Rights disagrees.
The United States government recognized early on in their detention that these men had been captured by mistake. In fact, the Kiemba case was not at all about the legality of their detention, because that point was resolved. No one thought that the Uyghurs were terrorists or had any connection to terrorism.
At the heart of the case lies the constitutional issue of whether or not a U.S. judge can order the government to bring foreigners into the U.S. According to the Bush and Obama administrations, they cannot, and the Supreme Court favored this opinion by rejecting the inmates' appeal.
These 5 plaintiffs are non-resident aliens. They have never been to the United States. They have no contacts with the United States. Therefore, they don't have the same rights that a U.S. citizen would have to insist upon being released into the United States.
Of the original 22 men, 17 have been resettled in Albania, Bermuda, Switzerland, and Palau. According to the U.S. government, the remaining have had offers to resettle in 2 countries deemed appropriate, but Dixon states that this is not the case.
I don't think that there are offers of resettlement in Palau. Some of the Uyghurs were offered the chance to resettle there initially. Some of them accepted that offer, some of them did not. But there currently is no offer.
Because the men have had offers in the past to live in other countries, the Supreme Court stated that there is, quote, no government-imposed obstacle to petitioners' timely release and appropriate resettlement, unquote. But should the men face difficulty in finding a place to live now, the Supreme Court stated it will reevaluate the case. Marjanasi, Press TV, Washington.